Imagine every whisper behind your back, every sneer you couldn't hear, every hand that tried to push you down, friends who turned away, colleagues who spread lies, critics who counted your failures. They believed you'd shatter, that your hopes would vanish like dust. But as you knelt in prayer, your heart pounding with fear, you felt Allah's mercy like a gentle breeze, reminding you that He never abandons His believers. In the darkest hours, He steadied your resolve and breathed courage into your soul. As Allah said in the Quran, "Do not lose hope nor be sad, for you will be superior if you are believers." Al-Imran 3:139. Because Allah tested you, and in that test He raised you, you turned every tear into determination, every setback into strength. Now, they watch in disbelief, swallowed by regret, wondering how the very person they tried to crush became the one they can't stop admiring. 1. The fire. They lit only forged your steel. They believed they could burn you to ashes. Every harsh word, every betrayal, every painful rejection was meant to break your spirit and reduce you to nothing. When they spread rumors, spread lies, or turned their backs on you, they thought you'd collapse under the heat of their cruelty. But instead of destroying you, that fire revealed your true strength. Just like raw iron placed in intense flames, the trial by fire removed your weaknesses, your doubts, your fears, and your insecurities. With each insult that stung, you learned to stand taller. With every act of betrayal that wounded you, you discovered new reserves of trust in Allah and in yourself. Each rejection stripped away parts of your old self that were holding you back, leaving behind a clearer, more determined version of who you really are. You didn't crumble. You didn't lose faith. You evolved. You emerged from those flames quieter but unbreakable, carrying within you a calm confidence that comes from knowing who you are and who supports you. Your focus sharpened. You began to see exactly which battles were worth fighting and which were simply distractions. Their goal was your destruction. Yet they never realized that fire has two purposes. It can destroy, but it can also create. It tempers steel, makes it stronger, harder, and more resilient. They failed to see that every attempt to weaken you only molded you into a warrior who refuses to be defeated. Now they look at you and feel regret. They watch as you move forward with purpose, as your reputation grows, and as your faith deepens. They regret underestimating the power within you, because what once seemed like a weakness became the very source of your greatest strength. 2. Your silence was not weakness. It was precision. When they hurt you, you didn't cry out in retaliation. You didn't chase after explanations or plead for mercy. You didn't lash out in anger. Instead, you chose silence, a deliberate, powerful silence. In that quiet, you found space to breathe, to listen, and to reflect. Their insults and jabs carried no weight when you refused to engage. Each time they pushed you to react, you stayed still, like a calm lake reflecting the sky, undisturbed by the stones thrown into it. In that stillness, you protected your heart from the poison of their words. You recognized that anger and resentment would only fuel their attempts to control you. By remaining silent, you let their negativity pass through without leaving a mark. But silence is not emptiness. In that space, you began to rebuild yourself. You returned to your prayers, seeking strength from Allah and clarity for your path. You opened books and articles, searching for wisdom that would guide you. You took time to learn new skills, whether it was refining your craft, studying a subject you'd always been curious about, or practicing a daily routine of self-discipline. Every day you set small goals, read a chapter, write down one dream, perform an extra set of exercises. You also spent time in self-reflection, asking yourself hard questions. What truly matters? Where do I want to be a year from now? How can I honor the blessings Allah has given me? As you journaled these thoughts and revisited your intentions, you felt your purpose sharpen like a blade being honed. The more they tried to provoke you, the more you focused on your inner work, healing old wounds, repairing your self-worth, and cultivating patience. They assumed your silence meant you were broken, that you had nothing left to say. Yet, every unspoken word, every hidden tear became fuel for your journey. Their laughter faded into the background while your resolve grew louder inside you. You forged a daily habit of gratitude, thanking Allah for each breath, each sunrise, each opportunity to learn. You built a routine of self-care, whether through exercise, time with loved ones, or moments of reflection in nature. While they busied themselves with gossip and negativity, you quietly transformed. Your health improved, your skills sharpened. Your confidence rose, not from external praise, but from knowing you had endured, persisted, and chosen growth over retaliation. When they finally look at you now, they see someone calm, uncompromising, and determined. Someone who allowed silence to become a strategic weapon rather than a sign of helplessness. Because true power does not scream for attention, it moves with intention. Your silence was not a surrender, it was precision. It was the pause before a masterful strike, the deep inhale before a powerful exhale. And when you do speak or act, your words and actions carry the weight of someone who has lived through trial, learned from it, and emerged with unshakable conviction. Now they watch in awe and regret, realizing that the very moment they tried to provoke you was the moment you chose a higher path, one of faith, focus, and unwavering resilience. 3. They mistook your kindness for weakness. They saw you helping others, forgiving mistakes and speaking gently, and assumed you were weak. They believed your patience and generosity meant you lacked strength of character. But kindness is not a sign of fragility. It is the mark of true courage and conviction. When they offended you, you didn't lash out or seek revenge. Instead, you offered forgiveness. They thought, she won't stand up for herself. He won't fight back. Yet in every act of mercy, you found more power than they could ever imagine. Your kindness was not a shield for cowardice. It was armor forged in faith. You understood that hurting someone back only perpetuates pain, whereas mercy breaks the cycle and points towards something greater. In those moments when anger boiled within you, you paused. You reminded yourself that Allah loves those who forgive, and let them pardon and overlook. Would you not love that Allah should forgive you? Shura 42:40. This verse became your guide. Instead of acting on the impulse to retaliate, you humbled yourself before your Lord, asking for the strength to respond with compassion. And in that humility, your heart grew stronger, because true resilience is built on self-control and trust in Allah's plan. They watched as you gave a second chance to someone who had wronged you, a co-worker who betrayed your trust, a friend who spread rumors, a family member who overlooked your needs. They expected you to retaliate, to teach them a lesson, but you remained calm. You spoke softly, setting clear boundaries while still offering an open hand to anyone willing to change. By doing so, you showed a deeper wisdom. You knew that maintaining your dignity and faith meant more than proving yourself in their eyes. Kindness also became your source of healing. Instead of letting bitterness consume you, you volunteered your time, helping neighbors, supporting family members, or simply offering a listening ear. Each time you gave, without expecting anything in return, you replanted seeds of hope in your own heart. You realized that generosity is a renewable resource. The more you gave, the more Allah replenished within you. And when their insults tried to drain your spirit, your acts of charity refilled it with purpose and joy. By showing gentleness in the face of cruelty, you turned every cruel word into an opportunity to reflect Allah's mercy. You didn't pretend nothing happened. You acknowledged the pain, but you refused to allow it to dictate your actions. You understood that forgiving someone does not mean forgetting or accepting injustice. It means freeing yourself from bitterness so you can move forward. Now, when they see your peaceful life, your close relationships, your steady progress, your calm presence, they regret ever underestimating you. They regret forgetting that a kind heart guided by faith can outlast every attack. Because kindness is not vulnerability, it is a choice, one that requires greater strength than any act of aggression. They called you soft, but their own hardness hardened them further, leaving them trapped in anger and regret. You, however, stand firm in a kindness that uplifts you and those around you. In their eyes, your gentleness was a weakness, but in reality, it was your greatest weapon and your clearest reflection of faith. 4. They underestimated your faith. Now they marvel at your unshakable belief. They looked at you and assumed you had nothing left, no strength, no direction, no hope. When every door seemed to close, they said, "There's no way forward for you." But what they didn't see was the fortress you were quietly building within, your faith in Allah. Their doubt became the very fuel for your unwavering trust in Him. When you faced heartbreak, be it a betrayal by a close friend, a failure at work, or a moment when everyone walked away, you turned to prayer. You sat on your prayer mat, hands raised, tears falling, whispering, "Ya Allah, you are my protector. Guide me, strengthen me, and do not let me fall." In that soft conversation between your heart and the divine, you felt a calm wash over your spirit. You realized that even if the whole world abandoned you, Allah would never forsake you. That realization became your anchor. Every time they spread rumors or questioned your capabilities, you reminded yourself of the verse, "Indeed, with difficulty comes ease." Quran 94:6. You wrote it down on a sticky note and placed it by your mirror. Each morning you recited it before stepping into the world. You refused to let their mockery drown out Allah's promise. With every insult hurled your way, you chose to recite Quranic verses that spoke of hope and patience. You discovered that the words of Allah were sharper than their tongues and more powerful than their schemes. They expected you to crumble when setbacks arrived. Instead, you stood up and said, "My Lord is with me." You forged a habit of making dua for good in everything. "O Allah, grant me unwavering faith, even when I cannot see the path clearly." When your bank account dipped low or opportunities vanished, you held on to that dua. You believed that sustenance and success come from Allah alone, and that trust became your shield against despair. During sleepless nights, when fear whispered that you'd never recover, you turned to the Quran and read Surah Al-Inshirah. "Did we not expand for you your breast, and we removed from you your burden?" Those verses weren't just words. They became living reminders that Allah opens hearts and removes burdens when we place our trust in Him. Slowly, you replaced anxious thoughts with gratitude, thanking Allah for the next breath, for the roof over your head, for the sunrise that signals new possibilities. As you deepened your faith, you also took tangible steps forward. You joined a study circle, surrounding yourself with friends who reminded you of Allah's mercy. You volunteered at the local mosque, channeling your energy into serving others, knowing that helping someone else is a way to draw nearer to Allah. They watched you and said, "She's too broken to find that kind of peace." But Allah's peace isn't for the flawless. It's for those who surrender their flaws to Him. They also ignored the power of your daily routines. Fajr prayer before dawn, reciting Allah's names throughout the day, and ending the night with tahajjud when the world was silent. In prayer, you poured out every worry. In sujud, you felt most connected and most heard. They thought your routine was a sign of weakness. Hours spent on a prayer mat instead of building a career or chasing worldly gains. Yet, it was precisely that routine that filled your days with purpose and your mind with clarity. Now, when they look at you, they see someone who no longer fears their whispers. They see the sparkle in your eyes that comes from knowing your worth is rooted in Allah's love, not in human approval. They see your calm smile, the way you speak with conviction, and they regret ever doubting your strength. Because what they didn't grasp was that a heart connected to Allah's promise. And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him, Quran 65:3, can never truly be broken. Their regret is your testament. They tried to break you, but they only fortified your faith. In their failed attempts, they unleashed the warrior within you, one whose power flows not from applause or recognition, but from the unshakable belief that as long as Allah is by your side, no force in this world can defeat you. 5. Their criticism became your catalyst. They threw insults at you, pointed out your flaws, and whispered that you would never amount to anything. They questioned your choices, belittled your efforts, and painted every setback as proof that you were destined to fail. But in every cutting remark and harsh judgment, you found fuel for your journey, because you refused to let their negativity define you. When they criticized your dreams, you turned inward and asked Allah for clarity. O Lord, guide me to what pleases you, and grant me strength to persevere. Instead of wallowing in self-doubt, you spent moments of reflection meditating on Allah's promise. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. Quran 13:11. You realized that their words could only hold power if you let them, so you chose to change your inner state first. Each time they whispered that your goals were unrealistic, you wrote down one small, achievable step toward those goals. If they said you lacked skill, you practiced for an extra hour, studying tutorials, seeking mentorship, and honing your craft. When they dismissed your vision as foolish, you reminded yourself that the Prophet faced ridicule too, but never abandoned his mission. You took solace in his perseverance and remembered how he turned every attack into an opportunity to strengthen his message. You also learned to filter criticism through two questions. Is this a test from Allah, or is this the voice of someone who lacks vision? If it was a test, you responded with prayer and patience. If it was blind negativity, you treated it like a passing cloud, acknowledging its presence but refusing to let it cast a shadow over your purpose. You practiced making dua for those who hurt you, asking Allah to open their hearts to guidance, because you recognized that true strength comes from raising others rather than tearing them down. In practical terms, you set up a routine of self-improvement. Waking up before dawn to read Quran, spending time learning from mentors, and reciting dhikr throughout the day to keep your heart focused on Allah's support. While they spent their energy tearing you apart, you spent yours building an unshakable foundation, body, mind, and spirit. You enrolled in online courses, attended local workshops, and sought feedback from constructive-minded peers. Each step forward made their criticism ring hollow. As your skills grew, you shared your progress publicly, posting small wins, celebrating milestones, and acknowledging setbacks as part of the journey. When they tried to shame you, your transparency turned their arrows into applause. People admired your honesty, your resilience, and the way you kept moving despite the noise. You became a beacon for others who faced similar doubts, offering encouragement and sharing the Quranic verse, "So be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth." Quran 30:60. Over time, what once felt like a barrage of negativity transformed into a map of what not to become. Their doubts showed you which fears to conquer. Their insults highlighted the insecurities you needed to heal. You channeled every critical comment into a reminder. I will prove them wrong by growing stronger, by aligning my actions with the guidance Allah has given me. Now, when they see your achievements, your newfound confidence, your growing influence, and your unwavering faith, they regret ever underestimating you. They watch as you encourage others under the same umbrella of praise you once needed. Their criticism, intended to break you, became the very catalyst that propelled you forward. And in that transformation, they recognized too late that the power you found in turning negativity into a stepping stone was beyond anything they could have imagined. 6. Your wounds became your wisdom. Now they regret underestimating your growth. When they hurt you, they thought they were leaving permanent scars, proof that you would always be broken. Every betrayal, every failure, every cruel word was meant to remind you of your weakness. But instead of letting those wounds define you, you chose to learn from them. Each painful experience became a lesson, a roadmap that revealed hidden strengths, renewed purpose, and deeper empathy. In the aftermath of each betrayal, you asked yourself, what is Allah teaching me through this trial? You reflected on the verse, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear, Quran 2:286, and you found solace knowing that every hardship was measured for your capacity to overcome it. Rather than hiding your wounds or pretending they didn't hurt, you acknowledged them. You accepted that feeling pain did not make you weak, it made you human. Then you asked, how can I use this pain to grow? You identified the lesson. Perhaps the betrayal highlighted the need to set healthier boundaries. Maybe failure at work revealed gaps in your skills that you could now address. When a friendship ended, you recognized that not everyone you trust will share your vision, and that's okay. By writing down these insights in a journal, you transformed each wound into a guide for your next steps. You invested in self-improvement. Every time their words stung, you chose to respond by learning. You took online courses to strengthen your expertise. You attended community workshops to build connections. And you read books on emotional intelligence to better understand both yourself and others. Each new skill became a step forward, proof that their attempt to hold you back only fueled your determination to advance. You let your experiences foster compassion. When you saw someone struggling, whether a co-worker facing unfair criticism or a friend battling self-doubt, you didn't walk away. Instead, you reached out, sharing your own story of how Allah guided you through pain. You offered practical advice, encouraging them to journal their thoughts, to make small daily plans for improvement, and to pray for strength. Your empathy came from first-hand experience, making your support genuine and impactful. You also incorporated gratitude into your daily routine. Despite the wounds, you reminded yourself that Allah granted you health, family, and faith. Each morning, you made a list of 3 things you were thankful for, even if it was simply having clean water to drink or the ability to stand on your own 2 feet. This practice kept your focus on blessings rather than losses and helped you view adversity as a temporary state rather than a permanent defeat. By the time they looked at you again, they no longer saw someone defined by past pain. They saw someone who had transformed every cut into a compass, navigating toward a stronger self. They watched as you spoke at community events, sharing how setbacks taught you resilience, as you mentored others, guiding them to see their own wounds as opportunities, and as you walked forward with confidence that radiated from your deep trust in Allah's plan. Now they feel regret, because in trying to break you, they unknowingly handed you a treasure map of self-discovery. Your wounds did not shatter you. They became the very wisdom that set you apart. And in seeing how far you've come, they realize too late that the pain they inflicted was the catalyst for your greatest growth. 7. Your triumph became their regret. They watched every step you took, expecting you to stumble, waiting for the moment when you'd fail. They believed that once you faltered, you'd disappear from their sight, forgotten and defeated. But instead, your perseverance turned every step into a statement, a declaration that you belong to those who trust in Allah's plan. When you set goals, whether to complete a project, mend a broken relationship, or simply find inner peace, you began each day with a sincere dua. O Allah, grant me success with sincerity and show me steadfast on the straight path. You understood that without Allah's support, even the simplest tasks become heavy burdens. Each morning, as dawn's light crept through your window, you whispered this prayer and reminded yourself, success is not only measured by worldly gains, but by how firmly you hold on to faith through trials. They tried to measure your worth by their standards, job titles, social circles, or material possessions. But you rewrote the definition of success through gratitude, humility, and reliance on Allah. When doors closed in front of you, instead of sulking, you reflected on the verse, "And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out, and will provide for him from where he does not expect." Quran 65, 2-3. You held tight to this promise. When a job opportunity disappeared at the last moment, you didn't spiral into despair. You said, Allah knows best, and continued seeking, networking, and improving your skills. As you progressed, each small victory, finishing a difficult task, resolving a conflict with compassion, or simply waking up for Fajr on time, became a milestone. You celebrated these with humility. You thanked Allah for the strength. You shared your gratitude with loved ones, and you offered a brief prayer of Alhamdulillah for every door that opened. In contrast, they remained fixated on your past stumbles, refusing to acknowledge the growth right in front of them. You also surrounded yourself with like-minded believers, friends who reminded you of Allah's mercy when you faltered, who joined you for study circles, and who offered support without judgment. In that circle, you found encouragement to push beyond your comfort zone. When they doubted your ability to start a small business, you sought mentorship from those who had succeeded with halal earnings. You attended workshops, learned financial literacy, and tracked every expense and income with discipline. They expected your venture to collapse under pressure. Instead, you launched with confidence, guided by both worldly knowledge and spiritual reliance. As your business grew, hiring your first employee, serving your first loyal customer, or turning a small profit, you didn't boast. Instead, you used your platform to inspire others, sharing weekly tips on how you balanced faith with entrepreneurship, posting reminders about zakat and charity, and encouraging gratitude for even the smallest blessings. When they saw your growing success, they tried to diminish it with rumors or comparisons, but you refused to engage. Instead, you recited, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, Quran 94.6. Indeed, with hardship comes ease, and turned their negativity into motivation to further refine your goals. They thought your achievements would go unnoticed outside your circle, but as you remained consistent in both action and prayer, your reputation for integrity spread. Community members who once doubted you now came seeking your guidance. They asked how you maintained patience, how you trusted Allah even when profits were uncertain, and how you balanced late-night work with tahajjud prayers. Each time you shared your story, you delivered one simple message. My success is a testimony to Allah's mercy. I did my part, planning, learning, praying, and He made it flourish at His perfect time. Their regret deepened when your reputation began to overshadow the critics. They remembered every attempt to break you, the rumors, the exclusion, the silent stares. But now they saw how each attempt only refined your character and amplified your light. You had been patient, you had been sincere, and you had devoted every achievement to Allah. They realized too late that in trying to bury you, they had fertilized the soil for you to bloom. Now, as you continue moving forward, with new goals on the horizon and unwavering trust in Allah, they look on in awe and remorse. Your triumph echoes their regret, for they understand that a victory born from faith and perseverance is a glory that lasts far beyond fleeting whispers. And so they live with the memory of underestimating you, the very person who, by Allah's grace, became the living proof that no force can break a heart steadfast in faith. They tried to break you, but they didn't know who was holding you. They saw only your tears, not your prayers. They saw your silence, but not your strength. They saw the storm, but not the one who was guiding you through it, Allah, the most merciful, the most just. And now they regret it deeply, because every insult became your fuel. Every setback became your lesson. Every rejection pushed you closer to your purpose. You didn't fight them with anger. You didn't lower yourself to their level. You rose, quietly, consistently, and faithfully. As Allah promised, whoever puts their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. Quran 65:3. So let their regret echo in silence, because your rise was never about proving them wrong. It was always about proving to yourself that Allah's plan was greater than their doubt, and you are living proof.